All right, so I'm going to go through the process and experience I had developing and deploying an Android app. I wanted to create an app for a while, but I didn't have any real motivation. Like, what would I make? Like, oh, let's make an app. That'd be cool. But I didn't have any motivation for a specific idea. So back in 2015, when I was learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube, I went through all these tutorials and methods and whatever. And then, so once I could solve and I got comfortable with it, I decided to put together a beginner method. Like, if I was going to teach someone else, like, I wouldn't go through all the process I did. I would like have this simplified way to do it. It's not that I've made up, but just assembled these things. So I just made a Google Doc of a little method. Like, you can see a bunch of little graphics and text, and you can solve the Rubik's Cube just like this. 5 easy steps. So I did that, and then I realized, hey, why don't I make that into an app? So here's my motivation to make an app. Since I already made some of these graphics, I used some of that similar stuff. So my goal of my app was, I didn't want to just create something like, hey, let's make an app, put it out there, and nobody would care. Like, I wanted to make it useful for somebody. Someone would still learn a Rubik's Cube, for example. And of course, this side goal was, everyone's goal is to make a bunch of money and not spend any money doing it. We'll get to that later, and all the money I've been making. So I'll go through the basic overview of all the steps, and then we'll dig into a little bit on each of them, and then if there's stuff that we want to dig into even later, we can at the end. If you have questions, shout them out throughout. The base of the app is built on Ionic Framework, and you can see some of the features it has here. Free and open source, fully cross-platform, premier native languages, first-class documentation. So it's using Angular and JavaScript and HTML5. And the reason I used this was it already has so much stuff built in. You know, I'm not making slide menus and tab navigation. Like, you just tell that's what you want to do, and it sets up so much for you. I did some custom programming for the app specifically, but the framework and setting up pages and views and all that stuff, I didn't have to do any of that. And I'll show you the creator that I used to make those. Also with this, since it's all front-end code, it's all HTML and JavaScript, once it's compiled down, it can run on Android or iOS. It can run on anything you compile it for. So I didn't write Java code or C# code specifically for a device. I just wrote basically website code, and then it got compiled, in my case, down to an Android app. All right, this shows some of the things that Ionic can do, and I didn't do a lot of these, but as I scroll through, on the left you'll see it'll scroll through some of these, and then on the right it shows what those look like. Let me get to something interesting. So pages like this with buttons, you know, you don't have to style and lay out all these things. Obviously they're all responsive, tablets or phones. I didn't have to write any of that code to make sure it's going to look good if it switches to landscape or what size of the screen, stuff like that. Some of the things I used, obviously buttons I used and graphics, but let me show you this tabs. Here we go. Where'd they go? Let me see our tab. There we go. These tabs are something that, again, part of Ionic Framework. I didn't have to make a tab controller and be able to add icons to it how I wanted and laid it out. This is all made with kind of an add-on to Ionic Framework called Creator. And this is an online tool that you drag and drop buttons, tabs, images, and then you download a whole zip of all the files, the JavaScript, the Ionic Framework, all the HTML that it generated for you. So the Creator, you can preview what it's going to look like on different devices, and you can export it to iOS, APK, Android, whatever. I signed up for a free account. The goal is spending no money. And with the free account, you can't download directly. You can't have it build into an APK or something for you. you basically get a zip file, which wasn't a problem for me because I had something else built that. But Creator, like I said, it shows you all these drag and drop options. You can build all these screens, and this is what those look like. Here we go. So here's my account in Creator. So on this side here, it shows all the pages basically that I've made. There's a ton of them. And then inside of each one, you expand, and it shows the different HTML elements that I've got. This shows a lot of broken images because I put images in outside after the fact. There's probably a couple pages in here with images, but I didn't put many images in here because I was updating animations and graphics all the time, that it was easier to just drop them in my zip file and have it rebuild outside of Creator than bringing it in here all the time. But you could build the whole thing in here with graphics. It lets you do, like in this case, here's a little HTML block, and it lets you just type in whatever you want for HTML. And then, for example, you can see here on the left side, and let me pull up one of those. Here's one of the tabs that I made. So basically I would drag, oh, there's only one, that's right. You would set up a tab controller, and then each one of these, you can pick an icon, and then you link it to, whichever other page you want to go to. That's not letting me. Let me give you a link example. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, and this has graphics. So this is and then this is a list item. Something that I just drag the list over, and you just keep adding items however many you want, and then each one of these can have specific HTML and a title, a graphic, and then here you say which other page do you want to link to. So this is a list of all the pages I have built. So I wanted to link to that page. In the app, let me show you what it looks like.
So how do you get this on your phone?
What's nice about Android is that I plug in my phone to my computer, and I copy the APK to my phone, like an external hard drive.
When you said you got a zip.
Well, we're not there yet. That's why. That's the next step. We haven't downloaded our thing yet. But let me show you let me show you this screen in the app. So there's that screen on the app. And then another thing the Ionic does is navigation. So I didn't have to see, like, here's a little menu to slide in. Like, I didn't have to program any of that. I just said I want a menu. These are the choices I want in the menu. And then I choose one and it goes to that page. Almost all these pages are very similar. Lists or just HTML blocks, links to other pages. And then once you're done, you say export your app. And in my account, my free account, I download a zip file. If you have a different account, then you would download the APK or IPA. But I would say, give me a zip file, and I would just download it. And then I would take that zip file and use Adobe PhoneGap. In PhoneGap, there's a nice little graphic down here that tells you exactly what it does. It takes a package of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All I do is upload it to PhoneGap build, and it spits out whichever deployable package that I want. So that works like this. This is my account in Adobe PhoneGap. I would just say update code. I would choose my zip file, upload. About 30 seconds later, there'd be a link to say download APK. I download it. The easy way to test that then on my phone, I would have my phone plugged into my computer, and I would just drag the APK over to my downloads folder, and then on my phone go to downloads and say, hit the button and say install. 30 seconds later, then I'm testing it right on the device. You can see there's a preview here in Creator, and it works decently. I mean, it works. You can see I'm navigating around. But since I had so many graphics externally and other things, this wasn't the best preview for me. But if you use something like this totally, then you would see everything, and everything would work the same. So for example, the zip file that makes that has all the JavaScript HTML, it's not completely ready for PhoneGap because there's an XML config file that has the permissions that you're going to need on your app, version number, the app name, author, stuff like that, and that's kind of like the manifest, basically XML that
You had the zip file on here that you can show us within.
I do on a thumb drive, but I did not put that on there. But I can in a little bit. What I can show you is what Creator gives us, but it won't be my full custom one.
How do you put the images? How do you reference the images that are broken? Is it just a path?
Yeah. How I did it was I had a custom folder that had the same structure, image.js, and then I would take all my images and just dump them into. Sometimes I would just copy straight into the zip and just put them in the image folder. And yeah, like so for example back here, well, I can't find a broken image now. So this image references image/pcll.jpg. So that exists for outside that I'm just going to copy it in right before I upload it to PhoneGap.
So you don't have to worry about the density or the screen size with your images, because I know a typical Android development, you've got a small, medium, or large picture.
Yeah.
You can replace it, and it'll pick the one depending on your phone
For
size. So
in the app you're talking about, or like in an app store?
in the app, when you're developing with the Android JDK, you have 3 different image. You could basically the app will then pick, depending on the device it's running on, it'll pick a different image.
I only made one image per.
It just sizes it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things I forgot to mention, this is what's known as a hybrid app, because a native app you'd write, like I said, the C# or Java code and have backend, processes somewhere on some server to access. And a web app would be just in a browser. But what the hybrid app does is, this is just basically a website. It's all front-end code, but it runs in an in-app. It's kind of a shell, a browser shell. So you still get the same app feel. You get an icon on your tablet or phone, and the device thinks it's an app, but it's really just running a browser.
Can you get
inside a
access
shell
to the camera and such?
Yeah, some things you can. It does have some like access to native platform layers things.
So will this app work if you don't have like internet?
If I have what?
If it's essentially like wrapped inside a mini browser, if you don't have internet, will the app work?
Yeah.
It'll still work?
Yeah, because you downloaded originally from like a Play Store. So it still downloads the whole thing, all the graphics and JavaScript and everything. It's all contained.
Well, I mean, like when you're running the app, if you don't have internet, would it work?
It will
Mhm.
if it doesn't have to connect to anything else.
Right.
So it's like
Mine
running on
doesn't.
a local host.
Right.
It's all
Okay.
It's all self-contained. Everything's in there, yeah. So yeah, when I first learned about Ionic Creator and saw how, hey, I'm just getting a zip file of HTML. What am I going to do with that? And I was looking into how that compiles. Before I found PhoneGap, you'd have to download Cordova and Node.js and set up all this stuff. I didn't feel like doing all of that. It was going to be a pain. But then when I found PhoneGap, then, right, you don't have to try to install some compiler system and set up whatever. I didn't have to mess with any of that. And with Creator, obviously you're going to be limited, just like with any drag-and-drop GUI. Like, it can only do so much. That's why I did stuff outside of it. Like maybe a little bit of layout, but a lot of custom JavaScript that I just wanted my app to do. There was no place in Creator to do that because it's more drag and drop, add some buttons and pictures. On the left is what we downloaded from Creator. So this is the zip file that has, you can see here, we'll go into templates. So this has all my pages as separate HTML pages, and it's got a few JavaScript files. It writes all these for you in an Angular way. On the right, this is my custom folder that I would grab all these files and just drag them into the zip before I upload it to PhoneGap. And for example, here you can see I have a couple different configs. One's for Amazon Underground and one's for Google Play, just because they needed a few slightly different settings. But I'll show you one of them. It has basic stuff. Which version do you want? What's the app called? But I first did Amazon, regular Amazon. And then I learned about Amazon Underground. And Amazon Underground is where you get all the free apps now. And a benefit of Amazon Underground is the developers get paid for the minutes used, people who use the app. Pennies per minute, but it's not a one-time fee. So anything you download on Amazon Underground is free to the downloader, but the developer gets paid however much you use it.
Ads in it?
Yes.
So in your application, there's ads in it?
If you get it from Amazon Underground. Right. Google Play, I have it out on there too, and it is $1.49, and it's just a one-time fee. But recently, so I initially published this after about 8 months of work and 100 and some hours back last August. And I had it on Amazon Underground and Google Play, and then I made another update a couple months ago, and Amazon wouldn't take it. It kept rejecting it, complaining about images and icons. It's hard to find specific information about what they need. This block here kind of shows you, I had to read through all the different helps and forums and whatever to figure out that all these different Amazon sized images are for the Fire Stick and the Firebox and Amazon TV and the Kindle.
This is what I was asking about earlier with the different image size for the different displays.
Yeah, so this is only one image that I had to do this with, but you have to label it complete, like this image is for this density and this size, and I had to label all these things, and you can kind of see I just had made a comment. Yeah. You can kind of see, so I had to make all these sizes. That was a recent thing that I didn't have to do initially, but Amazon was rejecting my app, and this was finally the reason why. And then you can see down here, the only permission I'm giving it is to allow it to have an in-app browser. Over here in my custom stuff, you can see I have, I have a custom JavaScript that if I pop into a certain some certain views, then I want to change the width of the screen, some stuff like that you couldn't do through the Creator. Here's my animations I have, which I didn't show. I'll show it on the screen.
Did you write this code?
Yeah, this is all my custom JavaScript code that for animations in my app and other things. And I just drop it in to the app zip before I upload it to PhoneGap, and then I can reference all that stuff the same way as the stuff that came from Creator.
So what icon that you had to deal with it in multiple resolutions, and why? I didn't quite follow it, because it's got to be able to. Oh, that's your front end, your icon.
That's your icon that goes on the App Store.
Yeah, that one has to be multiple sizes. Here, is this one bigger? There we go. Yeah, and with Amazon Underground, you have to tag your image with this little banner they give you to make sure it's actually free. But everything else is the same. All the images that I made, I didn't have to do that with. But an image that is in your app that they won't have access to, you have to give it that tag. But over in the store, I'll show you the app stores. The back end of my app, which also takes way more time than I thought. I'll just sign up for an Amazon account, type in some text about what I want, and upload an image. It just takes a while to go through all that because pricing's not too bad. You pick a price, but some of these descriptions they want, and Google wants it in a different way, and they have a bullet list, or they have a description, a short description, a long description with different characters limits. So here's what you're telling the App Store to show, and it shows these short and long descriptions depending on if you're looking at a browser on a computer or if you're looking in the App Store on a phone. It's going to pull these different ones. So they're very similar. There's just a little fewer number of characters in the short one. I tried to make them the same. And then Amazon gives you a bunch of keywords to throw in. And then you have to make all the images that you want to be in the App Store. So these are the images that you scroll through, like, hey, what's the app going to look like? So I made all these screenshots. And see, like, even down here, you can add more Fire TV assets. There's more different videos. I didn't go into any of that stuff. I just wanted to get as, core stuff out. And then once I have my APK, then you go to the binary tab, and that's where you upload it. Upload it here. I've already uploaded it, obviously. There's not much here to fill out, but it does some testing for you. You can kind of see what devices it thinks it's supported for Fire and phones and stuff like that. And then every release, you can give it a few notes about what you want. So that looks like this on Amazon. So here you can see all those images that I uploaded. It automatically reads the permissions that it has and puts it there for you. But then there's the bullet list that I made of features and my description, and then it throws in some technical details for you. Google's very similar. You have Google Play, you have text fields, and you upload graphics. Some of them are slightly different sizes and things, but this is what my entry looks like on the Google Play Store. It's got the same, screenshots.
You still have to create a certificate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can sign your APK with your certificate.
Yeah.
For Google, you didn't have to on the other
Do you have to have a real certificate, or you can self-sign?
Self-sign.
Yeah, and I did that. That's through the PhoneGap. You put your key through there. So I did have to download. I've only done that once, and it was.
So did you buy a certificate?
No, no. That was like a year ago. I downloaded something to generate a key, and then I uploaded that into my PhoneGap account.
But the generate key.
So here you can see how Google Play shows all that similar type of information. Slightly different, so it's just another store to keep track of data. So my original idea was to have like a paid version and a free version or something, like get people to try your app, and then if they like it, they'd pay for it. Or have an ad, like one with ads and one without or something. But then I realized that's managing two different apps. Like maybe it's fairly simple to keep them straight, but I didn't want to manage two things all the time for two different stores. And so since this is all HTML, JavaScript, it's web-based, I realized I'll just make a website out of the whole thing because it's already basically a website. It's running a web, in-app browser on the devices. So I found a place to get a free domain. Remember my motto, making money without money. So you can see solvexio.cf is my website. So this is my DNS, or my registrar for solvexio.cf. So I purchased that. I got that for free. I found a word space for free hosting. And so I just I pointed my domain over here. And then inside of my WordSpace account, I took my custom code from Creator combined with my custom code, uploaded it all out here, and that's what's in this app folder. So this is exactly the same as what I had uploaded to build my APK. Back one more folder, this is just kind of like some root of the site, of the web page. And so
the URL?
solvexio.cf. So this is what it looks like. This is just the splash page to get people to know a little bit about the app. These links take you to Google Play and Amazon Underground. This shows you a sample animation that's in the app. Talks a little bit about the app, shows you some screenshots and bullet points. But this link takes you into that app folder. So this is the same exact app, same code. I did nothing different to it. And it works exactly the same way. I can click through just like I would on a phone. And it puts the navigation at the bottom, but as opposed to top, like on a phone. The only thing I disabled on the web version in my custom JavaScript was I didn't let the animations of the images run, just to have this is kind of like my free version of the app. I didn't want to give away the whole thing, so that's what I disabled. And then more recently, I added a timer to time yourself when you're solving your cube, and this works exactly the same way. This works on a phone because you need thumbprints. And this is hindered a little bit too. It doesn't keep all your times. It just shows you one time at a time. So those two things I did custom, but everything else is exactly the same app. Some of these, for example, these are like the info sheets that I made, kind of like the original thing. So that's just a JPEG of an info sheet. It's not this exact one. It's a different cube, but so I threw those out there, like how to solve different things, all exactly the same. As a way, and it's also nice to have a website that I can send people to, and then if they want to download the app or not, they can, or they can see 95% of how the app is. And if you search for Solvexio on Google, then the website comes up. It doesn't have to be. It also finds the Amazon entry, Amazon Store entry, and Google Play, but if you weren't on a device or didn't download it, the website still comes up. So that's just another channel of advertising and information. So overall, I've spent about 200 hours over a year and a half. That's building the pages, navigation, all the graphics, animation, custom code, and I know what I wanted to show. The money right here. Let me show you. Amazon Underground stats are nice since it keeps track of minutes for you. I'll just do all time. It's been about a year now since it's been. So this shows 293 units have been downloaded from 293 downloads from Amazon Underground. So you can see the very first day or the first couple of days, a huge spike. Amazon advertises it in their free list, like, hey, new free apps. So there's a huge push right at the beginning. Everybody downloads it just because it pops up on their screen. And then you can see over time, this is how many downloads per month. And since it keeps track of minutes, it's been used 1,933 minutes over the course of the year. And this shows the activity. These blue dots are different releases when I changed. And then down here you can see my royalties.
Wow, you're retiring, aren't you?
Just takes time. That's right. Google Play, I've had 3 downloads that people purchased it. So I charged $1.49 so I could get $1. It's a little over $1 each, so it was easier to, like, how many downloads is how many dollars I've made from Google. So I've had 3 downloads there. There's also a couple that were purchased and then returned. Like, I didn't even know. Like, I check in a week later and someone from Norway bought it and then returned it and got their money back or something. So, but somebody from India, Norway, and I don't remember the third one. I don't think anybody in the U.S. has purchased it from Google Play. But I've sold 3 on there and 293 on Amazon. So these are just examples of some of the stats you can see that it keeps for you. Because I didn't write anything to keep track of minutes. Like, that's not part of my project. That's when I upload it to Amazon Underground, it adds something to it to keep track.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, there's nothing I did at all.
Ad tracker thing on there.
Yeah.
Where does it put the ads in for?
I've been seeing him Kayla's probably my number 1 user. He hasn't seen any, but when I've just been playing with it, I've noticed that if I have the app open and then I close the device and come back later, the first thing I see is an ad, just like trying to get back into the app just from turning on the device. So because I've never known, I always just sideload it right into my phone and I never get them. I don't know if it's sporadic throughout the app or if it's just at the beginning, but right, they can serve up whatever ads they want. I mean, they're in complete control of that. Now, it doesn't seem very often. Like I said, Caleb has never seen any.
For other apps from Amazon that I download, usually whenever you first turn on the app, it pops up the ad and then it just goes away until you exit out of it and turn it back on.
So for Amazon Underground, you got to be connected to something.
Yeah, I think.
Well, to get the ad, you would.
You have to also have be logged in to your Amazon account, and
Right.
otherwise you don't get it. I think you have to log in to Prime. If you don't have Prime, you can't actually get the app for free.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can?
Yeah. You can get it without Prime. But right, you wouldn't get any ads if you weren't connected to Wi-Fi or data or
I'm
something.
thinking it wouldn't even work. Sorry.
It works. It still works. And probably some of the tracking, it must record that internally, and then when it connects, then it can send that off. Any questions?
Oh, no, me first. Are you going to be releasing like an update with the
The 5x5 cube?
5x5 one? Yes.
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. I don't care about the 5x5 cube. I have my app shows for all you future Rubik's Cube solvers. It has a beginner method, which is what I first started. It has an intermediate method, which you have to learn a little bit more. I don't have a walkthrough with this one. I just have this little info sheet, but it has a little bit more to learn. And then I have puzzles for the Void Cube, which we saw a little bit ago, and this called the Mini Tower Cube. It's a little 2x2x3 cube. And right, ideally I'd make walkthroughs and step-by-step of all these, but probably the next thing I'm going to do is start making videos. And what I'd like to do is have maybe kind of like a little sample video on YouTube, like here's a walkthrough of how to do it, but a complete explanation video solely in the app. It would still pull from YouTube, but have a private video that only like the app knows where to go get it, sort of a thing. That's my idea. That way it's another sort of buy the app if you want the full video.
So, I guess using that Adobe PhoneGap, are you able to just change any website into like a phone app?
No, it has to have a certain structure. The way the Ionic zip is, it has certain folder structure and certain files that it needs to know. It's only for basically that structure. It knows what to do with that sort of hybrid app.
So if you, like, I guess, create the same structure with just any, like, without going to Iconic
Yeah.
to get it to work too?
Yeah, just like, I mean, it's because that's kind of what I do. Since I have so much custom stuff, I mean, I do take their base, but yeah, I could make a zip file with a JS folder and an image folder and have a templates folder with all the HTMLs.
Lovely,
That's it.
sir.
Anything else?
So is your login name really Salvador QB?
Thank you for noticing.
Too.
That's awesome.